that's really the limitation. This is kind of like where this conversation is heading naturally. The dangers of hyper preference.
Yeah.
And the lack of open-mindedness will strip you from potential interactions that would probably be very beneficial and edifying for you. Right. Because like, oh, I only want a person that has a college education. Yeah. Even if you like come from it from a perspective like, oh, they have a certain set of like values based on like the requirements that I have. Another person could have those same values and like really compliment you more specifically. Never went to school.
Right. Right.
And you're like, oh, so what school did you go to? Oh, I never went to school. You just turned your entire brain on. Now you're not talking at all. I was like, well, that's it. I gotta go. I'm gonna try my way to not get trapped in this social interaction. Yeah. Oh my God. And then you missed out.
100%.
Insane to me.
100%. And I think like as like you get older and you date and figure out, because I think like when you first enter into dating, you do kind of give yourself like all these like standards and like preferences that you like think you want to have as you're trying to learn even what your preferences are.
You're trying to discover who you are as a person.
And then you grow up and then you realize that your preferences should be based on like on values. And when you're young, you are still trying to figure out what your values are. You're trying to strip away the identity that you got from like your parents and like your upbringing and whatnot, and kind of going into the world and figuring out, okay, well, what did I learn from my parents? What do I see in the world? Where do I want to be? And like,
and even things that you had as you separate.
Yeah.
If you interact with a person, it changes. Yeah. And it grows over time.
100%.
So that's also a very important thing to consider, in my opinion.
Yeah. Super important. Super
important.
Exactly.
But I guess that naturally brings us to this idea of values and where we want these people to match us, right? I think matching is very important when people are formulating their preferences. Yeah. Because this is a crazy example, but this example is insane. But like some of the reasons why people don't like seeing professors dating students is because it's a complete mismatch.
Okay,
it's not matched at all. Like this person is just starting their adult and social career.
100%.
You've been existing in this space for like you're a professor at least 10 years, right?
Right.
Why aren't you finding someone that's more at your level?
Right. Yeah. Predatory.
I mean, it's not what we're talking about right now.
But it just needed to be said. It was just like
I said, the example was insane.
Existing right there.
The example was insane.
No, but this is true. Like you should, if you're a fully actualized human being, you should want someone who is on the same level as
100%.
You know,
100%. And I was like thinking about that too, because my thing, age preference, right, is
yes,
right. That's a good one. Some people, I'm 20 right now. I would never date a 18-year-old.
No.
10 years is a bit too aggressive for me. And like all our parents, my parents are 9 or 11 years apart between those.
6 years apart.
So it's like back then, the standard was different or whatever. Like the interaction was completely different. And maybe as you get older, it becomes a little different as well.
Yeah.
But like for me personally, I've never been able to exist beyond 5 years on either side.
Yeah.
So I can't really interact with a person that's 5 years older than me, 33.
More than 5 years older than you?
Yeah, like 34, 35, because like they're in a different part of life.
Yeah.
I can't relate to them. I went on a date with like a 40-year-old, super successful. She was a lawyer. She was amazing, very cool individual. I understood after dating her for like a couple times that why she was single at 43, which is a completely different issue. Right? Like, I see it. It makes sense. But it's like where I was as like that 26, 27-year-old,
right.
I had nothing to really like connect with her on. I could talk.
Totally.
We can talk ideas. We can exchange all day long, which is why we had like the day was fine.
Yeah.
But we weren't connecting.
Totally.
Because she's over here like talking about her kid that's almost my age, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, I don't even know if I want kids. Like,
I'm still figuring that out.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just, it's insane. And then same thing, like on the other end, a 22, 23-year-old just out of college trying to figure that stuff out.
Yeah.
They're going through a life period that I'm like, all right, I get it and I can relate to it.
Right.
But it's from a little top-down perspective.
Exactly.
You know, it's like, I don't feel comfortable dealing with your issues because one, I've already dealt with them, so they're not really issues to me. I can't empathize with you in a way that makes sense to what you would want a relationship to be.
Right.
And then secondly, it's like, it's really hard to respect a person that's dealing with things that you already like figured out for yourself. It's like, it's really, really, like, you're really whining about this. Like,
well, because you probably constantly feel like you're in like a mentorship position.
100%.
Right. Like
100%.
teaching, which is like, not to say like you should want to learn from your partner to learn from you and all that good stuff.
But that's the other side. My partner can learn from me 100%. I want to learn from my partner.
Right.
That's a big thing for me. Compatibility in that.
It has to be both
reciprocal
ways.
situation. And
totally.
with a person that's 5 years my junior, not a lot that I'm learning from you because you're learning the things that I already went through.
Yeah. No, 100%. I definitely understand that.
Yeah.
I, as you know, went through a major overcorrection of age.
Yeah, age preference. What are your age preferences? Jeez.
Oh my gosh.
What are those? What are those?
Well, they were. What are those? Oh my gosh.
Oh my.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I will say, like, before I started dating my boyfriend, I had a really big come to Jesus moment about the things that I preferred when it came to like these like physical, these like more like physical preferences. And I guess age is not necessarily physical, but somewhat.
More or less, yeah. We'll
so
put it in
like
that category.
The height thing of like really restricting myself there and just really having a come to Jesus moment of like, how much does this really matter in the grand scheme of things when like, what do I desire like more? And it's a healthy relationship with someone who I can grow and love and be with and all that kind of stuff. And also the other thing was age, where I only really dated people who were like 5 years plus older than me. Do I say the oldest person I've ever dated?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. They don't need to know. It's not necessary. Why are you trying to cancel us before we start? Olivia, please.
Yes, it would be.
No, not yet. We'll save all that for later. Okay. At least 10,000 listeners, please. At least. That's crazy.
Oh my gosh. Yes. But.
I'm trying to keep a straight face.
I know. We can't really talk about my age preferences. We can. I'm going to talk about it.
Later.
Well, not like in that sense, but like I've always felt, I mean, I think probably a lot of women will say this is that, you know, you date guys like older because you find that you're in more of a similar headspace as them than someone.
Oh my God, it's so tragic.
Than someone
side. Oh I know. My goodness.
Then like and there's definitely like a threshold, like it's like to a point, right? Like only like so much older before, you know, whatever.
Before it becomes a problem.
Before it becomes
Why
an issue.
Why are you a 22-year-old relating to a 35-year-old?
Right, 100%.
We're at the same mental level. Why though? I'm concerned for you. That's a red flag.
Why was I? Yeah, and that was a whole other thing. It was that I had to learn of like dating like 30-year-olds when I was like in my early 20s.
I'm just so mature.
Exactly.
That's why I can relate to these older men.
Well, it's not even, it was testing out whether I could.
All right.
It was really more of like a situation of like whether I could relate to someone like who was 30 years old, or testing my maturity or whatnot. That was essentially what it was.
When you were in that?
To a point, and like you were saying, that's hard, kind of like a red flag at the end of the day too, is like as a 22-year-old or 21-year-old, why is a 33-year-old man relating to me at the same, like in, you know, and like in hindsight, right? But yeah, I don't know, like even with the age preference, it's like my boyfriend, we're literally the exact same age. He's only 6 months older than me.
Which I will comment because I have the reference and the history.
Yeah.
She was so adamant about never dating a guy her same age.
I was so against
the fact that she met this man, and when she met this man, she was talking about it.
Yeah.
How like excited she was, and I was like, "Oh, how old is he? My age, 23." And I was like, "Wow."
I know.
Look at all this time you were
I was making such a fuss
and doing all that stuff,
right?
And the one that you are the most compatible with is a person your age.
100%.
Not you.
Not me. But then it's a lesson in that it really isn't about age. It's just like, there's just so many variables into what makes, especially when you get into like our age range of like, you know, like
mid 20s, early 20s is difficult.
There's
so much variance.
So much variance.
The range is insane.
And like what people are up to in their lives, where the maturity levels are at, and like it's just like, it's just absolutely insane.
Which,
so
honestly, this is a crazy tangent, wild segue.
Totally.
But
let's hear it. Wild.
Again, like the 23-year-olds, the 24-year-olds I talk to, they're dating people my age.
Yeah.
And they're telling me about it. And they're like, the things that they're going through, that these 28-year-olds that I have to consider peers because they're my age, I'm just like, how are you still dealing with this?
Right.
From a 28-year-old. That's so crazy to me. He's not communicating. He's playing games. He's doing other stuff. He's like figuring out his life. I was like, wow, that's insane. That sounds like me when I was 22.
Right. And it's like, look, at 28, sure, it's fine if you're still figuring out your life, whatever. It's just like the ways in which that it doesn't even matter. Like these people who are supposed to be grown are not communicating.
Yeah.
Do not have an understanding of themselves.
Like, come on.
Like
now.
you don't even have enough self-awareness to be like, I struggle in this. Like you can't even like voice that.
Which is problematic.
Yeah. Like, you can't even say what's wrong with you.
You've been sitting with yourself in your adult mind for at least 8 years.
Right.
And never once you like looked inside there and wondered what was going on, to the point where it's like, oh yeah, I have anxiety. Like, oh yeah, like I have a fear of commitment. Oh yeah, this, that, and the other. It's like, really? Like
you can't even do that. Like that's the first step. That's the bare minimum.
Acknowledge that it exists, please, sir.
Right.
No, you're just projecting it on all the relationships that 100%. You have go off, I guess.
And that's and that goes for everyone. There's, like I said, the mid to later 20s can be just really wild and like variation. Just people,
which, to your point in your experimentation, makes 30 plus a lot more appealing.
Yeah.
Because those are the people that have quote unquote supposedly should have.
But even then, I'm sure you hear all the wild stories.
I'm just saying they should. It's more if you're like,
or they're just more stuck in their ways.
I mean, that too. They don't respect you as a human being because they're so much older than you. But if you're playing the lottery, I'll place my bets on a person over 30 than a 20-year-old, because they have to be figuring it out.
Yeah.
At 30, it's flip of a coin. I'm 50-50. Who knows?
Who knows? They either got it figured out or they don't. There's no in between.
Yeah, and it's really easy to tell the difference between a 30-year-old who does not have it figured out.
Yeah. That's fair.
You know?
This is very true.
It is what it is.
That's scary.
That's a conversation for another time. That's crazy.
I was just thinking, because I could go into that.